Will the Water and Infrastructure Committee of September 2nd, 2025, please come to order? The time is now 9:01 a.m. May I ask that all participants please silence any noise-making equipment, phones. Nobody has any pagers anymore. I'm your chair, Tom Cook. Members, per the Sunshine Law, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workplace with you today, exclusive of minors. I would also ask the department representatives who have joined online to please also turn on your cameras when it's your turn to speak. Now I'd like to introduce the committee members, and today I'm going to start with Council Chair Alice Lee with the greeting of the day. Good morning.
Chair, Sabaidi, and this is from Southeast Asia, Laos. Good morning.
Sabadi. And Committee Vice Chair Yukile Sugimura. Sabadi.
Good morning, Sabadi, and I'm looking forward to a productive meeting. Thanks for bringing this bill up.
Good morning, Sabadi. Councilmember Gabe Johnson.
Sabadi Chair, council members, canoe members, there's no testifiers at the Lanai District Office, and I'm here and ready to work. Mahalo.
And Councilmember Tamara Paulton is temporarily excused. I don't see her online currently. And Councilmember Rollins Fernandez, good morning. Sabadi.
Aloha kakahiaka, Chair. My Molokai Noya Hina. I'm at my private residence, alone here, and there are currently no testifiers at the Molokai District Office. Mahalo.
And good morning, Councilmember Shane Sinensi. Sabadi, aloha, and good morning.
Aloha kakayaka and Sabadi, Chair, here at my home office, and I'm here by myself. There are no testifiers at the Hana District Office, Chair.
Okay. And I see Councilmember Tasha Kama. Good morning. Sabadi, aloha.
Aloha kakahiaka and Sabadi to everyone. I am in my workspace. I am alone, and I'm looking forward to a wonderful meeting today. Thank you, Chair.
And good morning, Councilmember No'olani U'uhajins.
Sabadi Chair, good morning, everyone. I caught your joke of the pagers, and luckily I forgot mine's at home today. Just joking. Nobody has a pager.
And from the Department of Public Works, we want to welcome Director Jordan Molina. And from the Maui Police Department, Deputy Chief of Police, Wade Madera. Wade's not on yet. From Corporation Counsel, Deputy Corporation Counsel Caleb Rule. Morning, sir. And Deputy Corporation Counsel Brian Belberry. Good morning. From OCS, our committee staff, Keone Hurdle, Jared Pasquale, Lori Antengan, Carla Nakata, and Jean Pokipala. Please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. Good morning, everyone. We have one item on today's agenda, Y-11 on Bill 109, 2025, amending Chapter 20.35, Maui County Code, relating to outdoor lighting. Members, if there are no objections, I would like to take testimony after receiving opening comments on Y-11. And I would also like to welcome Councilmember Paulton.
Aloha kakahiaka kako, streaming live and direct from the Pili. I am alone at the kitchen table.
Thank you, welcome. Chair would also like to say that there's currently no testifiers in the Kihei office, but people are on standby. Y-11 on Bill 109, 2025, amending Chapter 20.35 Maui County Code relating to outdoor lighting. Okay, I already said that. So, members, are there no objections? I would like to take testimony after receiving opening comments. Okay, thank you, members. Let's begin. Members, Bill 109 amends Chapter 20.35 Maui County Code relating to outdoor lighting. Bill 109's purpose is to amend Chapter 20.35 Maui County Code by updating the outdoor lighting requirements that support public safety and community well-being while reducing light pollution and protecting seabirds and other wildlife. Overall, this measure seeks to balance between community safety and environmental protection, while giving clear standards for lighting design and enforcement. Members, I have also transmitted an amendment summary form with a proposed CD1 version that amends the title and the purpose statement and incorporates non-substitute revisions. At this time, Director Molina, would you like to provide any opening comments?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good morning, Jordan Molina, Director with Public Works. Good morning to WAI Committee Chair and members. Thank you for hearing this matter today. We're here before you for a bill to address a current public health and safety issue that exists with our current lighting ordinance as it relates to our street lighting. This bill simply seeks to establish a minimum safety standard for our street lighting to ensure that we are not only balancing environmental protection, but public health and safety as well on our roadways, which we have seen continue to increase with incidents and fatalities year over year. So this measures, to address that issue and also provide some administrative clarity on some of the standards to which are established in the code. We feel comfortable with this language is striking that balance through the ongoing litigations that we've been involved with to kind of clarify what the concerns are specifically and as substantiated with scientific evidence and data. And so we appreciate your folks hearing this matter today. I would like also Corporation Counsel to present this morning to provide you guys with a bit more technical detail on the matter before you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Molina. At this time, Mr. Bilberry, please provide any opening comments followed by your presentation.
Yeah, well, I'll just go right into the presentation. Basically, what I'm going to do is walk you through some history and then discuss with you what it appears our options are. So this PowerPoint presentation, I haven't actually technically broken it out into 3 sections, but basically what you're going to hear is the background of where this concern with blue light content came from with respect to Maui County. And then you're going to hear information that addresses the problem that Maui County is presented with respect to a 2% blue light content restriction for street lighting. And then you're going to hear about the 2 options that are presented presently to Maui County for the conversion of its streetlight infrastructure. And so you can see my opening slide there. We can go on to the next slide. Okay, so the concept of the blue light content as a problem with respect to Hawaii seabirds came up in a piece of litigation that we handled in 2019. And what had occurred at that time was Maui County was commencing a street-wide conversion of all of its obsolete high-pressure sodium lights to a 2700 Kelvin 70 CRI LED light, which is state-of-the-art technology, energy efficient, and it was an environmentally adaptable light that would be adjustable in environmental conditions, certain environmental conditions. The reason the litigation got filed is because the former Department of Public Works at that time had omitted exempting this conversion project from an environmental assessment. And that's something that he was perfectly within his prerogative to do. Concurrently with the Maui County's beginning to convert its streetlight projects or its streetlights, the city and county of Honolulu replaced as many as 53,000 streetlights, and they did that under an exemption from environmental assessment. Because Maui County didn't actually issue an exemption of its conversion project from an environmental assessment, it was a technical violation of Chapter 343, which is Hawaii's Environmental Policy Act, and Earth Justice, on behalf of the Conservation Council for Hawaii and Hawaii Wildlife Fund, filed a lawsuit based on that technical violation. And what they sought in the lawsuit was a declaration that Maui County violated the Hawaii Environmental Policy Act by not, I'm sorry, next slide. Yeah. So what Earth Justice and its clients sought in that lawsuit was a declaration that Maui County violated the Hawaii Environmental Policy Act by not issuing the exemption, and they wanted an environmental assessment conducted, which is under the statute, the remedy that they would be entitled to. While it wasn't specifically pled in the complaint at the time, they also wanted a permanent injunction to enjoin any future installation of the General Electric 2700 Kelvin 70 CRI light fixture that Maui County had begun converting at that time. You can go to the next slide. So in order to address the lawsuit and try to resolve it without extended litigation, the Department of Public Works voluntarily initiated an environmental assessment. And we also asked the state circuit court at that time to order mediation of the case. Earth Justice initially opposed mediation and pursued litigation, and again asked the court to remove, I think as many as 1,021 of the General Electric lights that had already been converted. And they also at that time, and this is the first time we had heard this, argued that the LED fixtures emitted a spectral blue light content that was allegedly harmful to endemic Hawaiian seabirds and turtles. You can go to the next slide. So ultimately what Judge Joseph Cardozo ruled in that case was that there was in fact a technical violation of the Hawaii Environmental Policy Act by not exempting the streetlights. He denied the request that Earth Justice and its clients made for an injunction to remove the LEDs that had been installed based on the theory that blue light content caused harm to seabirds. And then he ordered the parties to mediation to resolve the balance of the case. I want to show you next a couple of emails that were somewhat contemporary prior to this litigation that were sent by Earth Justice's biologist, Jay Penniman, at that time. And this was in the context of the Department of Public Works initially contemplating its countywide streetlight conversion project at that time. And at that time, Earth Justice's biologist, Jay Penniman, wrote in emails to everybody you can see here on the left, which included county officials, state officials, and federal officials. His first email was to the Department of Public Works, and he wrote, quote, "There is no research as yet documenting one wavelength as less distracting to seabirds than another, especially fledglings." No, I'm sorry. Then he wrote, if seabirds, especially fledglings, are instinctively drawn to shortwave blue/green light, wavelength light of bioluminescent prey, it may be that eliminating shortwave light from our street lighting and other lights will reduce or eliminate seabird fallout. So at that time, this concept of blue light having a particular attraction for seabirds was questioned. And then he wrote in 2017 to, again, a number of county officials, state officials, and federal officials with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, there is a real need to answer the question of whether or not eliminating as much blue light content of nighttime lighting as possible will reduce or eliminate distraction of seabirds. And then he concluded, We need to answer the question for seabirds. Now, the litigation was subsequently filed in 2019 and lasted for a couple of years. We did not receive any evidence in the context of that litigation, despite asking for it in discovery, that there was any empirical data or science supporting the theory that blue light has a particular attraction to seabirds. And quite frankly, we haven't seen any to date. Next slide, please. Contemporaneous at this time, there was a major project going on Kauai for the preservation of seabird habitats. There was a report put out, pretty extensive report. It was the Kauai Seabird Habitat Conservation Plan. And that report concluded, these recommendations for light minimization are based on current published scientific literature and represents the best available science. However, the best available science regarding light attraction behavior and the variations between the covered species' sensitivity to light color and intensity remains extremely limited. So again, there's question at this time as to whether light color, as distinguished from the brightness of lights and the intensity of lights, is the culprit in seabird light attraction. You can go to the next slide. And in fact, in the context of that previous litigation that I was discussing with you, Earth Justice and its expert, Mr. Penniman, referred to a research paper that tested the eye response of various species of animals, including salmon, turtles, seabirds. I think there may have been some commentary about soybean as well, but we looked at that research paper, and we had a physicist look at that research paper. The graph you see here was a chart of the eye response of the Newell shearwater, which is an endemic Hawaiian seabird, which showed that, in fact, this particular seabird's most sensitive eye response was not to blue light, but to the red and yellow light in the spectrum. We presented this conclusion to Earth Justice and his clients in the context of that lawsuit, and shortly thereafter, we were able to settle the lawsuit. You can go to the next slide. So the settlement of that lawsuit was, in part, what Maui County agreed to do at the beginning of the lawsuit, which was to conduct an environmental assessment of the LED lights that were being converted. And we agreed to dim those lights to 80% of their output pending the completion of the environmental assessment. The parties issued a joint press release, which I have quoted here for you and highlighted, and the community groups, which refers to the Conservation Council of Hawaii and Hawaii Wildlife Fund, as represented by Earth Justice, claimed that the LED streetlight fixtures emit high levels of blue light that may attract sea turtles and certain species of imperiled seabirds, including the Hawaiian petrel, Newell shearwater, and wedge-tailed shearwater. The environmental review initiated by the county is intended to evaluate any science underlying this claim. So at that time, they agreed that we would complete this environmental assessment to specifically assess this claim that blue light content had a particular attraction to seabirds. And you can go to the next slide. That draft environmental assessment was completed and published. It made a number of conclusions regarding the 2700 Kelvin 70 CRI light fixtures that were in issue. And you can see those conclusions here. I know it's the text is a little small, but I will summarize them for you. Well, we can include this PowerPoint as a matter of record so you can see the summary conclusions here. But the conclusion ultimately was, given these important factors, under the proposed action alternative, the county-owned street lights contribution to seabird fallout, if any, would be expected to decline. The proposed action would not have a significant adverse effect on the subject seabirds. It would have a beneficial effect on them. And you can go to the next slide. And this is the finding of no significant impact that environmental assessment that Earth Justice and its clients at that time agreed to made, and that was that no rare, threatened, or endangered species will be affected by the proposed conversion of streetlights on Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. In addition, the proposed action will not utilize or otherwise affect a resource or habitat needed for the protection of rare, threatened, or endangered species. In fact, as detailed in section 3.2.3, the proposed action will benefit protected species by avoiding and minimizing potential light attraction threats to seabirds and seabirds. And we are going to, and sea turtles, and we'll be looking shortly as to the basis for that conclusion when we look at the specific lights. Next slide, please. So what happened after that draft environmental assessment was put out was that Earth Justice and its clients lobbied this council to pass this blue light, 2% blue light restriction. And effectively what that did was it made moot the environmental assessment that they had agreed to have prepared, because the lights that were being assessed in that context wouldn't meet this 2% blue light restriction. Next slide, please. So I would just summarize that point by making it clear that rather than wait for the environmental assessment to become final and published, this maneuver was made to undermine that environmental assessment and undermine the settlement that was entered into in that previous litigation. 2% or less blue light content street light is inadequate for roadway applications. It is inadequate from a public safety perspective for the risk that motorists, pedestrians, cyclists, and visitors will be encountering on Maui County's roads. The main problem is that the 2% restriction greatly reduces what is called the color rendering index. And the color rendering index of a light is the spectral content of the light source. The higher the color rendering index, the more color one can detect at night illuminated by the light. At night, a driver's ability to discern objects depends pretty heavily on color contrast and the ability to detect differences in luminance and separate objects from the background while driving at low and high speeds. Adequate color rendering is going to make objects, or inadequate color rendering, which you're going to get with a 2% blue light restriction, is going to make objects blend more easily into their surroundings, reducing the contrast necessary for drivers to be able to detect potential targets while they're on the roadways and be able to respond and react in time. And this is particularly critical, obviously, when it comes to higher speed roadways. I would refer you to the letter report of Jack Curran, PhD, lighting physicist, that is part of the legislative record, and you can read in more detail the points that are made in this particular slide. One of the things Mr. Curran did, in addition to the analysis that these points summarize, is he looked at various coastal states to determine whether he could figure out whether there was a minimum color rendering index that other jurisdictions had in place, either by code or statute or administrative rule, that would set a standard for color rendering index. And it was pretty consistent that 70 CRI for roadway applications is fairly standard. There is no universal standard, but he canvassed various jurisdictions and found consistently that 70 CRI is pretty much the minimum. And if anybody wants to look further into this, you can just go online and Google CRI minimum. And what's going to come up is 70 to 90%. Next slide, please. So with a 2% blue light content restriction, this is the only option that Maui County and Hawaiian Electric has become aware of. It is a light manufactured by a company called Cree Lighting, and it was prepared specifically for Maui County as a parking lot light. And as I understand it, it was at the request of Home Depot. It is a light that only has 1900 Kelvin, and more problematically is only 50 CRI, which is well below what appears to be a minimum standard for roadway applications. Next slide, please. Next slide. And in fact, the manufacturer of that Cree Lighting, doesn't even recommend 1900 Kelvin and 50 CRI for any roadway application. When you look at Cree Lighting's own roadway selection guide, the cover page of which you're looking at here, no, previous slide, that's okay. In fact, Cree Lighting doesn't recommend anything below 2700 Kelvin and 70 CRI for any roadway application. And now you can go to the next slide. And here you can see, and I had it highlighted. Unfortunately, it looks like the highlights have vanished, but these are the various roadway applications. It's residential roadways, which are your neighborhood roadways, your collector roads, which are the roads that lead from your neighborhood roadways to your major highways, and then your major highways. Cree Lighting, the manufacturer that manufactures the 1900 Kelvin 50 CR light, which is the only light that Hawaiian Electric and Maui County have been able to identify that will comply with this 2% blue light restriction, doesn't recommend anything less than 70 CRI for any roadway applications, including the cul-de-sacs in your neighborhood. And you can go to the next slide, which is the continuation of their roadway selection guide. And you can look, if you can tell, you can see CRT or CRI, CCT, and none of these applications for any of these models of light are they recommending anything below 2700 Kelvin and, more importantly, 70 CRI. Next slide. So this is an excerpt from the Federal Highways Administration Lighting Handbook, and it talks about color rendering and the importance of color rendering, and you can just see by way of illustration the difference that, or the importance by way of the difference in these two color photo contrasts that the Federal Highways Administration has made for, again, illustrative purposes, to show the importance of color rendering at night for drivers. And this particular handbook concludes that color rendering, appropriate color rendering, can make objects more detectable in the roadway by as much as 20%, or increase detection distance by as much as 20%. So the lower in the CRI that you go, the more difficulty you're presenting to drivers in detecting objects that are potential targets in the roadway. You can go to the next slide. So this slide is also illustrative of the problems, potential problems with a low CRI light. This is the Pu'unene parking lot. Our expert, one of our lighting experts, was out there with myself and another attorney, and we measured these lights in this parking lot, and they are approximately what the Cree light is, which is the only light that we've been able to find that will comply with this 2% blue light restriction. This light is actually a little more CRI at 60, but you can see how it's not really rendering the colors of the various cars in the lot. And then if you look at the image on the left, you can see what an appropriate color rendering looks like under an adequate light. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Another thing to consider as you weigh this, this bill is that streetlights on Maui make up only 5.6 to 11.2% of the overall sky glow from human artificial light across the island topography. So the overwhelming sources of artificial light that would be attractive to seabirds are coming from other sources as much as 84.4%, I'm sorry, 88, sorry, my math skills are feeling challenged now, 88.8% to 94.4%. So the overwhelming sources of light and light attraction to seabirds are coming from other sources than streetlights. And again, that's to the tune of 88.8% to 94.4%. And you can refer to the letter report of Tom Glesna, who's another physicist that we've retained, who has provided information in this regard. And that's, again, part of the record you can see. Next slide, please. And Mr. Glesna has been able to determine that converting all of Maui County streetlights to a 1900 Kelvin LED, which is, again, the Cree light at 50 CRI, which is the only light that we've been able to find that will comply with this 2% blue light restriction, is only going to decrease overall sky glow by decrease sky glow only from streetlights to 2.5 to 5%, which is really minimal. So in other words, it's not going to make any difference when you look at the percentages of overall sky glow, which currently is 88.8% to 94.4% from other sources of artificial light. Exempting streetlights from the 2% restriction, which is what the main amendment to this current bill proposes, is not going to have an appreciable effect on overall sky glow. It only, overall sky glow will remain 86.7 to 93.3% of the contribution to light attraction to seabirds. And that's the 2700 Kelvin 70 CR light that was under consideration for the previous conversion project. The amendment in the lighting ordinance that allows for or sets a maximum for roadway lighting at 3000 Kelvin would only still result in the overall sky glow from artificial light at 84.5 to 93.2% from all other sources. The streetlights in this equation really are not having an appreciable effect on overall sky glow, which is what is attracting seabirds. And there's nothing to suggest that streetlights are somehow unique in causing seabird fallout. And we haven't seen that evidence, any evidence to the contrary. Next slide. This is the GE light that's was previously considered for the conversion project. It was purchased, and we have them. They're in stock. This is a 2700 Kelvin 70 CRI light. I think it's energy efficient, and it's environmentally adaptable. You see the little black nodule on the top of the light, and we can go to the next slide. This is a specification for that nodule. What this nodule does is it allows you to dim these lights or any of the lights that are equipped with this nodule from a remote location anywhere you want, any time of the year, for however long you want. You can dim any individual light, any group of lights, which makes this light adaptable, environmentally adaptable. The major concern with seabird light attraction and fallout is during fledging season, which is, we understand it is from September 15th to December 15th. We had proposed in the previous litigation that these nodules would be installed on these lights, and if we were given the information at that time, these lights can be dimmed at any sensitive location, any flight paths, for the duration of that fledging season in order to mitigate against light attraction and fallout to seabirds. So this particular light is adaptable, provides a solution to the concern that streetlights might be causing seabird fallout, because when that fallout is most, or when it occurs, as we understand it, which is during fledging season, when the chicks leave the nest and fly out to sea for the first time, we can dim the lights to mitigate against any attraction. We could turn them off, sitting from a computer, a remote location. So this light makes sense. The only other point I need to make, and you can go to the next slide, and there's a question here because the state of Hawaii operates 1,055 streetlights on the island of Maui. As we understand it, those lights are not old. They're relatively new lights. I think they've been changed within the last 5 years to a decade. They're not going to get changed anytime soon. And as we understand it, the state of Hawaii is not going to change its streetlights because of this ordinance. And their lights are 3,000 to 4,000 Kelvin. So I don't know what's going to happen if the 2% blue light restriction stays in place. We don't know what the state's going to do. We don't know if it's going to convert all of its lights to a 2% blue light, but it's kind of seeming unlikely that they will do that. I just had a couple other points to make. The existing HPS lights that are in place, and I raised this point because I saw some testimony from Earth Justice that pointed out that, well, you've got these existing HPS lights that are only 20 CRI, but these are 40-year-old lights. It's a 40-year-old technology, the current lights that are in place, and that's one of the reasons why Maui County has been endeavoring to replace them for the last few years. But it's a 40-year-old technology. They don't enable drivers to see color contrast adequately, which is one of the reasons they were going to be replaced. Because it's such a dated technology, they're brighter than they need to be. You can't control the direction of these lights, and you can't turn them off. So what I interpreted in that testimony is suggesting that Maui County should accept a substandard light because it's been unable to replace a substandard obsolete technology. And I find that's somewhat a questionable argument to make. The only other point I would make, and again, in closing, is that if you add a little blue light to your street lighting, that allows you to bring the intensity of the light down. The more adequate your color rendering, the less bright your lights have to be. And I would point out or let you know that both of the experts that we have retained to look at this are available on call today if you have any questions for them. Their letter reports are in the record. One of the guys is in South Carolina, and he's on call. If you want to talk to him, he can be available. The other physicist, Tom Glesna, is here on Maui, and he is also available to come online and answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your patience through that.
Thank you, Mr. Bilberry. I'd like to let the public know that if they, Brian's presentation, the presentation is number 7 on Granicus, if they would like to refer to it. And now I'd like to receive comments from the Department of Police, Deputy Chief Mayetta. Is he online, staff?
Yes, he's online, Chair.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. Thank you, council members, for having the police department on. And we fully support Bill 109. Anytime you have more lighting, there's a decrease in the area of crime. So I'll give you a good example. Whenever we do assessment on businesses, one of the first things we check is the lighting situation around the business. And if the business is in darkness, they're a high priority target for these people. I'm gonna talk about some statistics that I have. From January 1st to August 21st, we had 3,139 property crimes. Now our property crimes leads Maui County in our criminal offenses. So it's actually 2 to 1. Every two property crimes to every one crimes against person. And we further broke down the crimes by day and night. So we took 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, and 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. And according to our statistics, approximately little under half, 46% of the crimes occurred occurred at night. Now, even this is a little bit misleading because when your vehicle is stolen or your vehicle is broken into at night, a lot of people don't report it till the next day. So the time that occurred, the property crimes that occurred is an overwhelming 75 to 80% at night. So 6 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, these criminals are taking advantage of the low light situation where they can do these crimes and then it's not going to be reported to the next day. Now, speaking of the light, if you guys have drove past the Hilton that's situated between Maui Beach and Maui Seaside, they have that low lighting situation. And for us, it's very difficult. If you even just look in the parking lot, it's very difficult to distinguish the color scheme of the vehicle. And that goes as well as people too. People walking through the parking lot, they might be wearing a green shirt, but it just looks dark to us. We can't tell the difference. So for us to get a good description of these criminals when crime is afoot in these low light situations is very difficult for law enforcement in general. Now, moving to the highways. Now, there have been studies, yes, that blue light keeps you up. And of course, yeah, your iPhone tells you to turn off your blue light so you get a better night's sleep. But we want our people awake on the highway. It's a public safety issue. We want them awake. 99% of our OUI arrests are operating under the influence of arrests occur at night. And that's why our traffic units, our traffic detail, OUI detail goes out at night because of course the bars are open and more people are working during the day. But we want our people awake, and by having adequate lighting on the highways, you'll be preventing a lot of accidents, a lot of people not being able to see things in the roadway, just promoting overall safety. And that's why the Maui Police Department, we're all for supporting of this bill to increase the lighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Mayetta. Before we begin our discussion, let's see if anyone would like to provide testimony for Y11. Staff?
Thank you, Chair. We have 4 individuals signed up to testify. Would you be able to read the opening testimony remarks?
Yes, I can. Anyone wishing to testify, please sign into the lobby, join online meeting, or call on the phone number noted on today's agenda. For online testifiers, please click the raise your hand button. For those calling in, please follow the prompts via phone *5 to raise and lower your hand, *6 to mute and unmute. Please ensure that your name on Microsoft Teams appears as the name you prefer to be recognized as to or as anonymous if you wish to testify anonymously. If you are in person, please notify the staff that you would like to testify anonymously. Otherwise, please state your name for the record at the beginning of your testimony. Written testimony will continue to be accepted and can be submitted via e-comment at mauicounty.us/agendas. Staff will enable your microphone and video when it is your turn to testify. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes per item. If you are still testifying beyond that time, I will kindly ask you to complete your testimony. You can view the meeting on Akaku Channel 53, Facebook Live, or mauicounty.us/agendas. Decorum will be maintained throughout this meeting. Breaching decorum includes anything that disrupts the orderly management of the meeting. Violation of decorum may result in being removed from the meeting. So now, I would like to open for public testimony, staff.
Thank you, Chair. The first testifier is Jeff Bagshaw, to be followed by Jay Penniman.
Good morning, Council Chair, and my name is Jeff Bagshaw. I'm here to represent myself, although many of you know me from my agency. Our agency did not have time to review the proposed amendment to this bill, so they haven't gotten back to me about official word yet. But I do want to take an opportunity to thank you, council members who were present at the firefighters luncheon. Myself and others, I think, appreciated seeing our local folks here. I'm in strong opposition to this bill. I stand by my original testimony. I have many, many questions about why this is necessary at all. It's puzzling. I've studied it. I will, in comment to the testimony we've just heard, the presentation we've just heard, I would like to note that a good scientist will always open the opportunity to say, we don't have enough data. We don't have enough data. That's a mark of good science. That's why we got a COVID vaccine. So to be able to review past publications and say, there's not enough data, I would posit that we don't have enough data about safety between Maui and Hawaii Island that has had the same ordinance on board for 15 years. When I worked with the National Park Service, I was there often for training. Aside from not knowing if your blue rental car was really red in the parking lot, I'd like to see actual proof about the difference between accidents and crime statistics increasing or being worse on Maui because of, or worse on Hawaii Island, I'm sorry, than on Maui for the lighting reasons. I'd like to see real data on that. If you're going to scrutinize the data on seabird attraction to that level, we need to scrutinize the safety concerns to that level and have direct correlation. From an anecdotal personal standpoint, when I'm driving at night, I often have to, I will see 2 to 3 cars in a journey that have no headlights on at all after dark. There's our problem. If the police department wants to increase safety, enforce people having their headlights on, not just their day running lights. Rental car, I see people in rental cars hunched over trying to see because the day running lights make them think their lights are on. They're not on. You can't see the car from the back because their lights aren't on. Make a change in that. Require that rental cars have automatic full headlights on. Some kind of technology. That's the safety issue we need. I'd like to see statistics on the real difference between that. I don't see that this actually clarifies anything by removing items. and definitions. Thank you for your time.
Members, any clarifying questions? Member Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask if Jeff could stick around to be a resource for this, if you wouldn't, do you have time?
I do. Thank you.
So,
Members? Member Hodges has a question.
Thank you. You said most people know you from what you do, but then you didn't finish your thought because I don't know who you are or who you represent.
I'm not speaking for Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Okay, Fish and Wildlife. Thank you.
Department of Forestry and Wildlife, I'm sorry.
And if you were to become a resource, you're going to be speaking on behalf of yourself, not from your
Today, yes. Yes.
department. Okay.
It's where I get my knowledge from, but I'm not speaking for the agency today.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's clear so that we're, if we do have questions for our resource, he is speaking on behalf of himself and not in this state capacity. Thank you.
Members, any other comments or questions online? Member Paulton?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Bagshaw, for your testimony. I noticed that you're familiar with the previous iteration of the bill. And as your testimony stated, have you ever reported non-compliance with fully shielded lights along the along the shoreline?
Have I reported non-compliance? I don't have the authority to do that. That's not part of my work or my agency. As a person, have I reported non-compliance? I don't have the technical skill to be able to tell what's blue light or not myself.
Oh, well, Section 20.35.090 talks about fully shielded. I mean, I always see lights along the shoreline that are just string bulb.
I do too. I haven't reported them.
Okay. And, but I did read your testimony about the seabird emissions and their importance. So I was wondering why you didn't report them.
I kept hoping that we would see replacements and enforcement happening, and we haven't seen enforcement happening. And that's my major concern with this change, is that this transfers the responsibility to the Department of Public Works away from the Department of the Environmental Controls here on Maui. So I'm curious why they haven't been out enforcing these things.
The string bulbs.
Yeah, all of the issues. I do see it. I keep trusting that the county's going to get to it, and maybe I shouldn't.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Lee, clarifying questions for the testifier?
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, did you say you work for the state?
I do.
You do. And appreciate your comments on what the county's not doing, but what about what the state's not doing?
That's a good question. I wasn't aware about the difference between the state lighting and the county lighting.
You weren't?
I wasn't, and that's not, again, I wish, when you work with the state and you work in one branch, you don't have latitude across branches. So
No, I'm just.
that's completely out of my
Thank
purview.
you. I was just surprised that you were keeping track of the county's light bill and wasn't aware of the state's light bills. Okay, thank you.
Members, any further clarifying questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So Chair, are we able to make them a reference or a resource? I didn't hear if that's okay with the body.
It's fine with the chair if the members agree.
Thank you.
No objection.
Staff, next testifier.
Thank you, Chair. The next testifier is Jay Penniman, to be followed by David Hinken.
Salami, aloha kakakiyaka, Chair Lee, Chair Cook, members of the committee. I'm Jay Penniman, I live in Ulumalu in Hamakualoa. I am the Special Projects and Development Specialist for Maui Nui Seabird Recovery Project. I am a member of the Hawaii State Dark Night Skies Protection Advisory Committee. I am here to respectfully request this committee direct the Department of Public Works to fully implement Ordinance 5434, which goes a long way toward protecting wildlife from outdoor lighting and sets the stage for preserving dark night skies while maintaining public safety and allowing exemptions for nighttime sports and recreation. Maui County joined Hawaii County in 2022 by limiting the short wavelength spectral content of most outdoor lighting to less than 2% between 400 and 500 nanometers. Hawaii County has had streetlights in their harbors and airports lit with ordinance-compliant lights for a decade and a half. Hawaii County has not experienced the degradation of their safety nor an increase in accidents on their roads since they implemented these standards. The body of scientific literature documenting the deleterious effects of short wavelength light at night continues to grow. All life on Earth evolved with darkness at night, and what light was available was long wavelength light, that is, flames from fire, the yellow to red end of the visible spectrum. All life needs to have full spectrum light in the daytime and darkness at night. In our modern societies, we need to operate at night, and we are best adapted to operate in the presence of long wavelength light. Bill 109 would effectively gut Ordinance 5434. There is a requirement that the color rendering of lights be at least 70%. There is no standard from which this is taken, and the street lighting that is in place for decades, high-pressure sodium, has color rendering between 21 and 30%, to which there have been no complaints. DPW has been offered compliant LED options that offer better color rendering at 50%, yet they have not chosen to avail themselves of these options. There is nothing unsafe about the lighting required in Ordinance 5434. Section 20.35.060, General Requirements, Paragraph A, would exempt existing lights from the requirement of being fully shielded. Full shielding has been in the Maui County outdoor lighting ordinance for decades. This would be a huge step backward. Paragraph B states that lighting shall not exceed 3,000 Kelvin when wildlife-compatible lighting is recommended to be no more than 22 and preferably 1,800 Kelvin. But Kelvin values do not represent the amount of short wavelength content. That is why the Hawaii and Maui County ordinances require less than 2% spectral content between 400 and 500 nanometers. I could go on, but my 3 minutes would be exceeded. Please discard Bill 109 and require DPW to fully implement and enforce Ordinance 5434. Mahalo.
Members, clarifying questions for our testifier, Member Paulton?
Can you repeat the part you said about 20.35.060 would remove shielding requirements? Because what I'm reading in A, it says all outdoor lighting fixtures must be fully shielded, except that all outdoor lighting fixtures installed after January 1st, 2026 must comply with this chapter. So it still says it must be fully shielded.
The copy of Bill 109 CD1 that I had new inserted in there, which excludes the existing lights.
I see new bracketed, and that means it's taken out, right?
Could be. Possibly I misread this. My apologies.
Have you ever filed a complaint about unshielded lights along the shoreline?
Yes, I have. Not a complaint. I filed a request for service to Public Works.
And did that work out? Did they get shielded?
Actually, they turned the lights off. They were up-directed lights, up coconut trees, and they were disconnected from the system.
Is that in South or West Maui?
In South Maui, Kihei.
And it's still disconnected?
I have only go by there occasionally, but I've not seen those lights on again.
So it's working then?
There was a good response to the request for service, yes.
Did you file that through the County of Maui Connect?
I think it was actually before the Connect system was set up.
How did you file it?
Sorry?
How did you file it? The request for service?
How did I find it? It used to be you would just go to the county website and you could file a request for service.
Okay, thank you.
Member Johnson, clarifying questions for the testifier?
Thank you, Chair. Just along the same lines of questioning, can we make him a resource, Jay Penniman, for his knowledge in Maui Nui Seaboard Recovery Project?
Members?
No objection.
Are you free, Jay?
No
I can do that.
objections. Are you free for the next couple hours?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, members, with no objections, we have both Mr. Pendon and Mr. Bagshaw as additional personnel. Okay. Staff, next testifier.
Thank you, Chair. The next testifier is David Henkin, to be followed by Johan Lal.
Aloha, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to testify today. My name is David Henkin. I'm an attorney with Earth Justice. And first of all, I want to really thank the Council for having implemented or adopted the ordinance change in 2022 to try and address the concerns about bright lights throughout Maui County, including the streetlights, to help our native wildlife, including seabirds. In my testimony basically had 2 points. I submitted written testimony. Number one is that there are compliant streetlight fixtures available, and the other one is that, it kind of goes to this public safety issue. Each and every one of you has driven the roads of Maui, probably most, if not all of your life. And up until end of 2018, the lights on all of the roadways were high pressure sodium. And as Mr. Penniman mentioned, they have a color rendering index of somewhere between 20 and 30%. It was only at the end of 2018 that about a quarter of the lights were replaced with the bright white LEDs that are very harmful to seabirds. So, you can just base it on your own personal experiences. Driving with the high pressure sodium, which are the amber colored lights, have you felt unsafe? Have you felt that, you need a bright white light? My personal experience on roadways is bright white lights in my eyes hurt them. But we don't need to get all theoretical here or call in experts. On Maui County, your lights have a color rendering index of less than 30%. There are compliant lights that would comply with the low blue light requirement and help save our endangered and threatened seabirds that have a color rendering index of 50, so double what you have on your roadways right now. And while Mr. Bagshaw can't testify for DOFA today, on February 24th of 2022, DOFA sent a letter to County Department of Public Works commenting on the streetlight conversion to these bright white lights. And they said, we have documented incidences of protected seabirds being downed at LED streetlights. We recommend that any replacement LED lights be filtered. Now, filtering is one technology. The Cree lightings are designed to be this. Color temperature of 2200 Kelvin or less versus the 3000 in this proposed bill, and a blue light content of less than 2%. That's from DOFA. That's on their letterhead. I'm happy to submit it to the council. And they said, we're doing this to have fewer impacts on protected wildlife, including seabirds. So we respectfully submit there is no safety issue with using lights that have better color rendering than you currently have on almost all of your roadways. Those lights are available. You can get them filtered, your existing lights, like Hawaii Island does, or you can buy the Cree lights. They're all available. They're all safe. Thank you.
Okay. Members, clarifying questions for the testifier. Member Hodges.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Henkin. I hope I said your name correctly. Okay, thank you.
You did. Thank you.
Thank you. So I find it interesting that Maui County has a requirement and Hawaii Island has a requirement. How come you folks didn't work with the state and then have them make the requirement that would be the same for all counties, including themselves? If we were trying to make a difference in seabird potential taking. Can you talk to me about that logic to work with the counties individually and then have it kind of piecemealed?
Well, most of the streetlights in Maui County, we didn't work with Hawaii Island. They were ahead of the game. They did that in 2011. As far as Maui County, Kauai County, most of the streetlights in those islands are, in those counties are county streetlights. But rest assured, we've reached out to Department of Transportation to ask them to change their streetlights as well. We think it's important that all sources of bright artificial light be brought down to this low blue light content to save our native birds. So we are working not only, we haven't singled out Maui County, we're working with the state as well.
Okay, and city and county too, because I mean, Honolulu City Lights is somewhat infamous and famous. It depends on the mood.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I live on Oahu, unfortunately, we have so destroyed our native wildlife. We don't have any threatened or endangered seabird species left on Oahu, or at least there may be a report here and there, but basically we wiped them out. And so the county council in 2022 wisely decided that it wanted to address this before it's too late. And so it's not too late for Maui County. And so we encourage you to keep with the existing ordinance, which was thoughtfully put together to adopt the same standards as Hawaii Island, so people could have available to them the same lights that they use on Hawaii Island. And we have a proven track record on Hawaii Island since 2011 that it's safe, it's effective, so it's not a problem.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your answers. Chair, can I just say for the record, I'm assuming Member Johnson is going to ask our same testifier to be a resource as you've done for the last two. I'm hoping we don't confuse ourselves for the courts and get into a he said, she said thing. It's going to make it really difficult for us to make a decision if we just constantly hear two opposing ideas. And I just want to make that clear for the record right now. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. Any clarifying questions? Member Johnson.
Well, since you set him up, Mr. Henkin, are you free to be a resource when we get into this discussion for this?
I'd be happy to if that's helpful to the council.
Okay.
Member Johnson, I think attorneys and all of that is inappropriate. We have two people that we've allowed and welcomed to participate, but I would ask that we don't add to that.
All right.
And Mr. Bilberry?
Just to make clear, I do have two physicists on call, and I didn't hear anybody actually formally request that they be designated as resources, but that was my intention when I let the council know that they are available and can appear to answer questions.
Chair would ask if the body would be available and amenable to having the resources mentioned by Mr. Bilberry.
No objection, Chair.
No objection.
No objections.
Okay, thank you. Member Paulton, I see you waving at me. You told me hi. You'll only give clarifying.
Clarifying question on the filters that Mr. Henkin had mentioned in his testimony that are utilized on Hawaii Island. I thought that Mr. Molina had said that installing the aftermarket filters voids the warranty.
Yeah, that was a concern that was raised back in 2019. My guess is the warranty on those fixtures that the county has sitting in a warehouse has run out. Hawaii Island puts an aftermarket filter on. The county made it clear that they prefer not to pursue that option, which is why Hawaiian Electric sent the letter that I attached to my testimony saying, what about the Cree light? And that's where DPW on January 21st of this confirmed that all the lighting fixtures that they identified, which are roadway fixtures, are not parking lot fixtures, that those all conform to the low blue light requirement, and those are the ones that have the 50 color rendering index, which again is 2 to 2.5 times higher than what the high pressure sodium ones on roadways currently have. So there's two options, filtering, or these which are specifically manufactured low blue light, they don't require a filter.
And those 50 CRIs, is that what Hawaii Island uses aftermarket filters? You said, what does Kauai use?
Kauai, as far as I know, does not use a low blue light. They don't have that requirement. They should, they don't.
They don't play football at night?
They play football at night, but they don't do it with low blue light fixtures. And I believe even under the Maui County ordinance, athletic events are exempted under the Maui County ordinance unless there are compliant fixtures that become available on the market. So this ordinance, nothing about this bill or the last ordinance affects football games on Maui.
Okay, thank you.
Member Kama, clarifying questions for our testifier.
I just wanted to ask, how many seabirds have we lost in the interim?
How many seabirds have been lost on Maui?
Yes.
Mr. Penniman,
Yes.
I mean, there are many that come down every year. I would defer to Jay Penniman because the Maui Nui Seabird Recovery Project, they keep track of exactly how many.
Okay. Okay, we'll ask him when he comes back. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I guess the only thing I would add, and Jay, I think, would say the same thing, because there are no dedicated searches for downed seabirds on Maui, the reports that Maui Nui Seabird Recovery Project gets about downed seabirds due to artificial light are just the ones that people happen to see, not all the ones that come down. And there have been studies done on Kauai that indicate that we don't have kind of dedicated searches during the fledging season.
Thank you,
You
Mr.
probably
Hack.
only run across maybe a fraction of 1%.
Okay. We'll have Mr. Pendergren weigh in on that.
Sure.
Members, any clarifying questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you very much. Staff?
Thank you.
Additional testimony?
Chair, the next testifier is Johan Lal, to be followed by Mike Moran. Johan is signed in under 3 different users, so if he's able to just unmute one of his devices, that would be great.
Johan Lal, I'm testifying on behalf of myself. I have learned a lot. I didn't know there was a lawsuit in all of this. And when the lighting bill was first passed, I wondered why there was a 2% blue light requirement. And now I know, I assume it has to do with that lawsuit. I haven't really followed this issue, but I asked ChatGPT to find me some studies and things like that. And it seems like there are some recent studies on that 400 to 500 nanometer blue light. So one question I would suggest asking your resources is if they're aware of those studies. And also Mr. Bilberry had brought up that the Newell shearwaters are more sensitive to yellow. So maybe they're different from other seabirds. So that would be a thing to get clarification on, because that would be kind of a major thing. Another question I would ask your resources is where they observe fallout. Because I remember a couple of years ago, one of the conservation organizations put out photos around that time of year when those fallouts happen. And the image was of a bird in like the middle of a roadway, and behind it was a street light, but it looked like a pretty orange street light. So I was like, I wonder if it really is blue or if it is all light. So that would be a question if they've looked at those geographic patterns and have done any analysis. On the public safety thing, there are studies. One of your testifiers had questioned the rigorousness, I guess. There have been studies on light and spread of light and whether or I seem to recall that light that goes too much downward and doesn't spread out does create crime because you get like dark spots. So that is an issue, and I think what Captain Maeda said is probably correct. But I would also ask if he's aware, or if anyone is aware of the studies that have been done, you know, on like a national or like a worldwide level, because within Maui County in general, there's not going to be enough crashes or crime necessarily where you see those patterns, or that's more so for crashes because there's not that many really bad crashes. However, if you were to look at data from California or like Texas, you would probably see patterns. You know, so I think this is an important issue, and this is two things that I happen to care about. So hopefully this gets a good discussion, and it's really good that you guys have some good resources. So mahalo.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Members, any clarifying questions for our testifier? Thank you, sir. Staff, Mr. Moran, next.
Yes, Chair. He's currently the last testifier signed up.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. I wanted to make a few observations. I think we're all aware of what's happening with our federal government, how you know, the Environmental Protection Agency has been gutted. Endangered species have seemed to become a targeted species that instead of trying to preserve them, we're just abandoning them. We see that our Northwest Marine Preserve that has been established over many administrations is under attack to eliminate it or greatly reduce it. So we see the tenor of what's happening there, and we certainly don't hope. We certainly hope that is not going to be reflected here on Maui County, where we're much more aware of what's here, what's happening here, what's needed here, than folks 3,000 miles away. Another observation, many years ago, under a different director, I had spoken with the Public Works Director about an issue where it was what they were advocating, his department was advocating with the mud floods, as we call them, was the detrimental effect of racing all the flow into the ocean and destroying the coral reef. And his response to me was, you know, the marine environment is not part of our charge. That's not what we do. That's up to somebody else to do. So I don't know whether our current director has that same perception that his job is to take care of the built environment and not consider the natural environment. But that's just a question for the current director. He may not agree with that. It's interesting in watching all the opening presentations. We don't hear anybody from the environmental side. It's just not addressed. So the only chance to hear from that is from this public testimony. And of course, we all have heard that many times of the imbalance. I don't know how long Mr. Bilberry went on. It seemed like it was close to a half an hour, where the public testimonies by these people who are really educated in this get 3 minutes, but that's the system that we have. So I just hope that we get some consideration for the environmental side of this and not just the legal government side of it. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. Aloha.
Members, any clarifying questions for the testifier? Thank you, Mr. Moran. We're having this meeting just for that very purpose, to have a discussion, public forum. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Any other testifiers?
Chair, that is all the individuals signed up to testify, but I do see an individual approaching the podium.
individual, I like it. Just sign me up as individual if I'm allowed. Luna Ho'omalu Cook. I hope you had a nice, long, good holiday. And Haole La Hanau Queen Lili Uokalani. Okay, I got to make her relevant now, right? I'm not sure how many birds had died by the time she was queen, but everybody knows the elite used to wear those feather cloaks. So that's just tying it in somewhere. That's just one aspect of it. I didn't ever see her wearing in any of her pictures a feather cloak. I'm pleased to see that my upcountry representative, Yukile Kashira Sugimura, is the author of this Bill 109. I was going to speak in favor of it until Mr. Pennington spoke, and then he said, "Aole" for this one. So, yeah, you guys, thank you for being here, Mr. Cook, and working on this. I got trust in you, bro. Sometimes the little birdies need a bigger voice to take care of them. Everyone knows what happened to most of the native birds in Hawaii. We extincted them. There's a story I learned back in the 70s. I never really got to the study of it, but they thought they were doing a good thing by bringing in the mongoose to try to get the rats. The rats were getting the birds, but the mongoose stayed up in the daytime and the rats was at night. We're still talking about the endangered birds, Mr. Cook.
No, we're talking about lighting.
What is it?
The bill is regarding the lighting.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for keeping me on track there. The Hawaiian word for bird is manu, M-A-N-U. And thank you, Mr. Bilberry and Mr. Molina for working on this too. I hope there's no sides. It's all we all work together. Teamwork. I don't like the blue light myself. I've heard that some people's eyes are different. I like the orange sodium vapor street lights, but maybe that's a product of my younger days when I was an adolescent out on the streets after dark. And I really appreciate what Mr. Pennington said about the fire and the red and orange light. And I'd like to remind everybody that Maui was, there's a story about him learning the secret of fire from the birds. Last thing I'd like to say, or not like to say, is I live on the mountain, and I don't like light pollution. And I suspect the store and the restaurant of violating the law of the Kanawai, and not only because of the lights on their buildings, but some of the cars that are there after dark, when they're parking, they leave their lights on when they're getting in their cars, and I'd like to tell everybody, that's why I call them parking lights, please.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions for the testifier?
Aloha, Mr. Cook.
Seeing none, thank you. Staff, any further testimony?
Chair, that is all the individuals signed up to testify. If anyone in the audience or on Teams would like to testify, please come up to the mic and begin your testimony, or use the raise your hand button on Teams, and staff will unmute you. Here's a countdown, 3, 2, 1. Seeing none, Chair, no one has indicated that they wish to testify.
Members, seeing that there are no more individuals wishing to testify without objections, I will now close oral testimony.
No objections.
As a reminder, written testimony will continue to be accepted into the record. Members, I'm proposing 2 rounds of 3 minutes per 3-minute questions per member. Are there any objections? Thank you, members. Let's begin with the discussion. I would like to ask Councilmember Sugimura, as the introducer of the Bill 109, to also provide any remarks or start with our questions.
Yeah. Thank you very much for bringing this forward. Appreciate it, and appreciate all the work that the department and Corporation Council has done, the research. So, Mr. Bilberry, your researchers, your resources, do they want to say a few words during my 3-minute?
They're on call, so I'd have to get them all.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you please?
They're on call. I will have to either text them or call them and tell them to get online, which will take a minute or so.
Okay.
That's okay?
So maybe during my second round then.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have them available. Yeah.
So, so department, Director Molina, based upon all that we've heard from the resources today, as well as our Corporation Council, if this bill passes, what will you be installing and for compliance? And I like the thought of the remote. If you could explain that remote capability, it sounds like then you have more control over the lighting situation.
Director Molina.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Mr. Bilberry pointed out, through that environmental assessment process, we determined that the lights we had purchased originally were going to be adequate. And we still stand by that the ability to balance color rendering allows us to reduce emissions overall. The current build is blind to emissions. They're only focusing on this color rendering aspect, which we don't believe is the premier issue we're facing. It's the overall light emissions. So by being strategic and getting a light that allows us to emit less, we think is the true benefit to the environment. And so we'd be seeking to put those lights in that we bought. In addition, it also manages our resources more effectively. So funding we're not going to be spending on new purchases can go to things like additional mitigation, habitat improvements, which we have been funding and regularly fund from the county. And so that's the intent with the lighting. In addition, that savings can also have us explore the capabilities for targeted mitigation with the dimming, with the seasonal aspects, and be able to coordinate with HECO to implement such programs, which we don't have capacity right now. In large part because of all the lawsuits we're embroiled in. We don't know which direction to move at this point in time. And so this bill will provide us that clarity. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Sugimura. Councilmember Johnson, questions for the departments?
Thank you, Chair. I'll just add a quick fact about this discussion is about the lighting and everything, but behind that is part of the light pollution, and light pollution should be considered a type of pollution. It lowers melatonin, and with low melatonins, cancer rates increase, interrupts sleeps. It's something that growing cities and communities have to deal with, and this is what we came up with a few years ago, is to protect the birds and also reduce light pollution. I want to bring up Mr. Penniman in regards to the fledglings. If you could come up here, Mr. Penniman, to speak on that. So we know that September to December is fledgling season. We also know, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that fledglings are the ones that are most susceptible to fallout because they're new, they're young, and they get confused. So in the past, I seem to recall, and that's what I want to ask you, is where's the hot spots? Is it South Maui because of the large resorts, or is it because they have a pattern of a flight path that they use? So can you kind of put all that into answering my question on that?
Certainly. Thank you for the questions. Yes, it is primarily fledglings who are the impacted individuals of each of the species that get distracted. However, adults are also distracted.
Okay.
Over this past weekend, we've had 4 different occasions where adult birds, the chicks are still in the burrows and the adult birds are, and largely we attribute that to the fact that we're in a dark moon phase. It's just waning now, so we don't have a lot of moonlight at early part of the night. The second part of your question was?
So is there hot spots where
Hot
do you
spots.
find fledgling, or just birds generally down?
Birds are down pretty much all over South Maui, West Maui, and Central Maui, and
So
we get them up country.
Is the correlation just the city centers or where people are with lights? That's the correlation? I mean, they're not down in Hana, are they?
We get them occasionally on Hana Highway, and sometimes we think that that may be due to vehicle traffic that's there, and there's individual lights along Hana Highway where they may be distracted too, and those are primarily street lights.
When the birds are in their burrows and they go out to sea, and when they come back to sea, do they take a particular path? Do they like to go down the slopes of Hailaka on one side, or is there a path that they tend to take?
When we did tracking studies in 2006, 7, and 8, with Oahu on Haleakala and on Lanai, we found that the birds come and go on different paths quite regularly.
Do you have a number of, I know that some Councilmember Kama asked, but do you have a number of per year birds that have been downed?
The numbers vary each year and largely dependent on the phase of the moon has been one of the big impacts on it.
Okay.
But it ranges between 50 and 150.
Thank you. My time's up. I probably have second round, but before I was a council member, this was the job that I did. I worked with Jay a lot on protecting the Oahu's and Oahu counties, and I think we did a lot of work for those birds, and I feel like here I am again trying to help those birds. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Kama, your questions for the departments?
I wanted to ask a question of Mr. Penniman. That's why I should probably ask my first question too. So my question, I did hear your response to Mr. Johnson. And so I wanted to ask you, you did say there's maybe 50 plus birds that have been impacted, but do you know what the species of the birds were?
The primary fallout species that we have on Maui are the Oahu and the Oahu kani.
But the species that I was asking about that have actually fallen out, how many of those have you tracked?
Those are what I'm talking about. Those are the primary two species. There are a few other species that get distracted, but they are the ones that I referred to in that very approximate number. I don't have exact numbers on the top of my head for each year, but that's an annual number.
And how do you record the data?
We have a person who goes to the site where a bird has fallen out. They have an app on their tablet or telephone. They observe the site, they observe the bird, they record the data. The data then goes into our database on our computers.
And when you talk about recording data, does that include pictures?
Does that include pictures?
Yes.
Occasionally. We don't always take pictures there because you're following up after an incident has happened and the bird has been often collected. So sometimes we'll get some pictures in an area, but not always.
And so how do you know if a bird or a species of birds have fallen?
How do we know if a bird or species of bird has
fallen?
Fallen?
Yes.
By collecting the bird.
Yeah, I know, but how do you know where to go and collect it?
How do we know?
Who tells you?
Like, what tells you to go to a certain space at a certain place or location because you have a fallen bird? What is the impetus for you to go and seek and search?
Oh, individuals. Part of our work that we do is outreach to the community. And without the community input, we would not have any idea where these birds are coming down. We have very limited resources to do the work we do. So we reach out to the community. We make contact with businesses, with hotels. We try to raise awareness of the fallout issue. So when people do see birds down,